Let's talk about one of the most high-stakes skills in customer success: what to do when a client has an objection. You know, that moment where a conversation can either completely fall apart or actually build a stronger relationship. So let's break down how to turn that conflict into a real opportunity.
Okay, let's start with a number that should really get your attention: 82%. According to a HubSpot report, that's how many customers say that transparency and empathy are what they value most when things go wrong. This isn't just some soft skill, folks. It's an absolutely critical tool for building trust. It proves that how we handle these moments matters a lot.
So, where do we even begin? Well, before you jump in trying to fix everything, you have to play detective. This first part is all about diagnosing the real problem. It's about figuring out the why before we ever get to the how.
You know, it's so easy to get defensive when a client comes at you with a complaint. It's just human nature. But the best customer success managers, the best CSMs, they take a strategic step back. They know that every single objection has a root cause, and finding it is the most important thing you can do first.
And here they are, the usual suspects behind that client friction. And trust me, it's almost never just one simple thing. Maybe their expectations were off from the get-go. Maybe there was a breakdown in communication. Or maybe they're just not seeing the value for the price they're paying. Learning to spot these patterns is really the key to figuring out how to respond. All right, so now that we have a better idea of why objections pop up, let's start building our toolkit for handling them. This is where we get into the practical, how-to stuff, 4 proven strategies that will get you ready to handle pretty much any of these conversations. The first, and honestly the most fundamental tool, is active listening. And let's be super clear, this is not just about being quiet while the other person talks. It's about fully concentrating, really understanding what they're saying, and then responding. You have to make the client feel genuinely heard, because that is the fastest way to bring the tension in the room way, way down.
Next up, we have empathy and validation. And here's a really important distinction. Empathy does not mean you have to agree with their complaint. Not at all. It's about understanding the emotion behind it. Just making that small shift can turn what feels like a confrontation into a real collaborative conversation. So, what does that actually sound like? Well, it can be as simple and as powerful as this phrase right here. When you say, "I understand why that's frustrating," you're not admitting you did anything wrong. You're just validating their feelings. You're signaling that you're on their side and you're ready to solve this thing together. It's a total game changer. Our third strategy, clarifying and reframing, is where we start to really shift the dynamic of the conversation. This is how you take a negative comment and pivot, turning it toward a constructive, solutions-focused path. You're basically moving the whole conversation away from blame. And here's what that looks like in action. Just see the power of a good reframe. On one side, you've got a blunt, dead-end complaint. But on the other, you have a collaborative invitation. See? The CSM isn't arguing. They're opening a door to a specific, helpful discussion. That's how you turn a roadblock into a way forward. And the final tool in our kit? Well, it's all about action. Once you've listened, you've validated, you've reframed, now it's time to offer solutions and set clear next steps. This is where the rubber meets the road. It's how you prove you were listening, by proposing real, tangible steps that actually address the problem you uncovered. Okay, so we have these 4 powerful tools, but how do you remember to use all of them in the heat of the moment when a client is upset? That is where a repeatable framework is so important. Let's walk through a simple 6-step action plan that you can use every single time. Here it is. This is your go-to process. Step 1, you listen. 2, you validate their feelings. 3, you ask questions to dig deeper. 4, you reframe the issue. 5, you propose a solution. And 6, this one is absolutely key. You agree on what's going to happen next and you follow up. Following these steps means you'll never miss a beat. It turns a stressful situation into a reliable skill. So, theory is great and all, but let's see how this framework actually holds up in the real world. We're going to walk through how this exact action plan can turn a really challenging situation into a huge win for everyone involved. Okay, let's set the scene. And I'm sure this one sounds familiar to a lot of you. A client is upset. Their workflow is getting messed up because of some delayed product updates, and they are not happy. The tension is high. So how does our CSM handle it? The CSM doesn't jump in with excuses or a bunch of technical jargon. Nope, they start right here. Notice how this combines steps 1 and 2 of our framework, listening and validating, into one simple, empathetic statement.
They're immediately showing the client that they get it. And then here comes the pivot. The CSM doesn't just say, don't worry, we're working on it. They propose a two-part solution. Something to help right now, that's the workaround, and a commitment to better communication moving forward. This is a perfect example of offering clear, actionable next steps. So what happens? The client feels heard. They have a temporary fix, and they know exactly when they'll get the next update. The CSM has successfully turned a moment of real conflict into an opportunity that actually strengthens the relationship. That is the power of using this framework. This quote really just says it all, doesn't it? It's not about winning an argument. It's about working with the client to find a path forward. When you approach objections with that spirit of clarity and collaboration, they stop being obstacles and start becoming opportunities to really prove your value. So if there's one thing to take away, it's this. Getting good at these tough conversations isn't just about putting out fires. It is a core skill that will elevate your performance, build incredible trust with your clients, and honestly, be a total game changer for your career. So I'll just leave you with this final thought. You now have the toolkit. You have the framework. Think about that next challenging conversation you know is coming up, and ask yourself, which one will you transform first?